Well, folks, we didn't know if we would make it this far, but nonetheless, here we are. Welcome to AT&T Stadium for the first of 4 state championship games to be played here this weekend, and we're going to get started this afternoon with the 5A Division II final between the Aledo Bearcats and the Crosby Cougars. Let's start off with Aledo. They're 12-1 coming into this one. The reigning state champions looking for state championship number 10 in school history. A win tonight would cement a three-peat for the school in 5A Division II. On the other hand, this is Crosby's second state championship appearance, and a win would give the school their first in history. Let's start off with Aledo talking about last week's performance, a 55-28 victory over Ryder, and they were led by Lamar commit and running back DeMarco Roberts, who had 155 yards on offense to go along with 4 touchdowns. Another player to watch for tonight is Alabama signee JoJo Earl. He's kind of a Jalen Waddle type player. Didn't flash too much last week, but nonetheless 4 touches for 80 yards and a touchdown is not a bad performance at all. Defensively, they're led by LSU commit Brian Allen Jr., and he's going to have to step it up physically if they want to stop a tough Crosby offense that's very athletic and very quick, but Allen has that skill set, and so does the rest of a very talented Aledo secondary. Speaking of the Cougars, coming off of a thrilling win last week, 62-61 over Liberty Hill, they won that game off of a 2-point conversion stop defensively. That was one of the craziest games that I've ever watched, and they were led by quarterback Daniquas Dunn. And while he did make a couple decisions toward the end of that game yesterday, he still accounted for 285 yards of offense and 4 touchdowns. And his partner in crime, Reggie Branch, added on an incredible 202 yards and 5 touchdowns. The X factor tonight for the Cougars is going to be their defense. They let Liberty Hill put up 693 yards on them a week ago. They will need to be a lot better here today if they want to stop a strong Aledo offense. Kickoff is just over an hour away here at AT&T, and we'll have the full coverage and live updates from the sidelines as they happen all day long. For Vibe Houston, I'm Tommy Yarish. Welcome back to AT&T Stadium for our second and final 5A Texas High School Football State Championship in the Division I bracket now, as the 14-0 Denton Ryan Raiders get ready to take on the 14-0 Cedar Park Timberwolves. Let's start off with Denton Ryan. They're coming off a 49-35 victory last week against Mansfield Summit, despite a late push from their opponents. Cedar Park, on the other hand, coming in red hot with a 61-28 victory last week against Veterans Memorial. Let's break this game down, starting off with Denton Ryan. A disappointing loss in the championship last year means they've got revenge on their minds tonight, and they have one of, if not the best teams to ever come out of this program because of the talent that they have on the field. Let's break that talent down. First of all, Texas signee Jatavion Sanders can play whatever position you want him to, and he does it well, as he's proven so far this year. A couple of one-handed catches that have gone viral all year, and he just does everything that his team needs him to. Speaking of guys that can play both ways, Oklahoma signee Billy Bowman. He had 134 yards last week to go along with a touchdown and an interception. Defensively, a big guy on the front line is going to be Bear Alexander, and boy does he live up to his name, as he is an animal up front for the Raiders. In his first year, he has played incredibly well, and if he plays well tonight and gets into that backfield for Denton Ryan, it could be a long night for the Timberwolves. Cedar Park's quarterback Ryder Hernandez is having as good of a season as you can imagine. 62 offensive touchdowns is absolutely unheard of, and he is playing out of his mind right now, especially last week. 7 touchdowns to go along with 394 yards of total offense to propel them to victory. Hernandez is going to face one of the toughest challenges he has faced all year in this Raider defense, but he's got weapons around him that can really play well, and if that Timberview defense plays like they did in the second half of the Veterans Memorial game last week, they could have a real shot of winning their 3rd state championship. Should be a good one, and we'll have all the coverage for you from the sidelines here at Jerry's World tonight. Signing off for Vibe Boston, I'm Tommy Yarish. Good afternoon, and welcome back inside AT&T Stadium as we prepare for Day 2 of the Texas High School Football State Championships. Today we get some 6A action, and we'll start off in the Division II bracket as the 13-1 Katy Tigers prepare to take on the 12-1 Cedar Hill Longhorns. These two teams are very familiar with each other, as they have played for the state title 3 times before this game. In 2012, the Tigers beat out the Longhorns, but the next 2 years, Cedar Hill got their revenge in 2013 and 2014. This year's game brings a lot of new talent to the table on both sides of the ball, and we'll start off talking about the Katy Tigers. Offensively, they've been led by Seth and Jalen Davis, the 1-2 punch at running back, all year long. Last week in a 63-7 victory against Buda Hayes, they had 6 touchdowns in the first half combined. All 42 points for the Katy Tigers came from the Davis brothers. And if you let up 7 points in the 5th round of Texas high school football 6A playoffs, you have to prove a pretty solid defense. And that defense is led by the cornerbacks, 4-star Bobby Taylor and Florida signee Hunter Washington. But let's not forget about this front 7. They have a couple linebackers and defensive linemen who have been putting pressure on all year. And even with the loss of 5-star defensive end Malik Sela, they have still been playing well, and they showed at the last 2 rounds. Flipping onto the other side now, if there's anybody who can handle pressure from a defensive front, it's Tennessee signee and quarterback for Cedar Hill, Kadon Salter, and he has proven it all year long. Last week, 318 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 27-17 victory over Denton Geyer. He's going to need to have another performance like that today if he wants to win Cedar Hill their 4th state championship. We'll have the coverage for you all day long here at Day 2 of UIL State. From the sidelines, I'll be running up and down, getting live videos as they happen and putting them out on Twitter as soon as I can. Thank you for joining us again and signing off for Vite Media. I'm Tommy Young. The last game of the 2020-2021 Texas high school football season is finally upon us as the 12-1 South Lake Carroll Dragons will take on the 13-0 Austin Westlake Chaparrals. The big story tonight is this game is the quote-unquote Dodge Bowl, as Todd Dodge, the head coach of the Austin Westlake Chaparrals, will be facing off against his son, Riley, who is the head coach of the South Lake Carroll Dragons. Let's start with this one. Both of these teams were not predicted to be here last week, as many expected a three-peat in the state final of North Shore and Duncanville. But once again, these 2 squads showed up to play as they have all season. We'll start off with the Chaparrals of Austin Westlake. They shocked the world by holding on to beat what many consider to be the nation's best team in North Shore with a 24-21 victory just a week ago. They pulled that one out of the bag thanks to 2022 quarterback Cade Klubnik, who put up 245 yards and 3 touchdowns, with one of those touchdowns being the go-ahead score on 4th and 1 late in the 4th quarter. The biggest part from that game, though, was Westlake's defense. They held an elite North Shore offense and got them out of their comfort zone last week, causing 3 rare turnovers, and looked as sharp as they have all season. And if they can do that tonight and put pressure on this South Lake Carroll team, they have a good shot of winning this game. For South Lake Carroll, we all know about the best player in the 2022 class, quarterback Quinn Ewers, the Ohio State commit. He led his Dragons to a stunning 34-27 victory last week over Duncanville, despite not having their head coach due to COVID issues. Ewers had himself a 168-yard and 2-touchdown performance, and he also had some help from his running back Owen Allen, who put up 243 yards of offense to go along with 2 touchdowns, and that is against a Duncanville defense that is full of Division I football players, so not a bad performance whatsoever. This game will come down to who can get more stops on the defensive end. Both defenses have played extremely well against very talented offenses, as we saw last week, and we will have the coverage for you sideline to sideline in just under an hour all night long. One last time with Vite Media, I'm Tommy Yarish.